Welcome once again to Mountaineer Rants. Today, I'm Paul. This is Terry. We're here today to give you the preview for West Virginia versus Virginia Tech. Coming up when?
Thursday night, September 22nd is who we play. It's the battle for the Black Diamond Trophy. By the way, if you look at www.mountaineerrants.com, you'll see the countdown to when we play them. But
countdown every week to the next upcoming game, and
exactly
the latest video is on mountaineerrants.com
exactly right.
as well.
So check it out.
As well as on Facebook. Virginia Tech has a new coach.
Yes, they do.
Their fans
Pry.
are generally
Brent
pretty
Pry.
upbeat, even though they have a marginal record and they started out poorly. Their fans are upbeat and hoping for a 6-6 season and a bowl bid. So their attitude is, with fingers crossed, this is a critical game for them.
They do think they think they can win this game. Brent Pry is the coach's name. He was a defensive coordinator at Penn State. It's the first time ever being a head coach. They've come in at 2-1. They've beat Old Dominion and they beat Boston College. Excuse me, they lost to Old Dominion. They beat Boston College and they beat Wofford.
That's exactly what happened. They lost to Old Dominion 20-17. Old Dominion is 2-12 against Power 5 teams, but they're 2-2 against Virginia Tech. Because in 2018, when the Hokies were ranked number 13 in the country, Wofford beat them 49-35. I'm sorry, Old Dominion beat them 49-35. In the game this year, maybe they looked past them. I don't know. But the Hokies were shut out in the second and the fourth quarter.
And they also had 4 turnovers.
And Old Dominion won the game by getting it in the goal line in the last 33 seconds. Now, Wells, the quarterback for Virginia Tech, had 4 interceptions, and Virginia Tech had 14 penalties. So anybody that thinks ODU beat them is wrong. Virginia Tech beat themselves in that game.
There's no question about it. Well, this is the one for the Black Diamond Trophy, which we got back last year for the first time in a while. You know, this is the first time we've been down to Blacksburg to play them since 2004. That's in 18 years since we went down there and played down there.
More conference problems because of the conferences. You don't play your rivals. Virginia Tech the next week then had Boston College, and they won that 27-10, and that's where they showed some pretty good play. They held Boston College to only 4 yards rushing.
Very good on the defense, yes. And the defense was good against Old Dominion, too.
Virginia Tech sacked the Boston College quarterback 6 times. And held Boston College to 155 yards total offense. So if Boston College is any good, then Virginia Tech has a pretty solid defense.
Absolutely.
Don't know if Boston's very good. They lost to Rutgers 22-21. They lost to Virginia Tech 27-10, and they beat Maine the next week 38-17, so the jury's still out on Boston College.
On the flip side of that, if that defense is real good, Wofford had not scored a point in their first 2 games, but they did score a touchdown against Virginia Tech's defense. Now, they did lose the game 27-7.
Before we move out of the Boston College game, Wells was 16 for 25 in that game with 1 touchdown. They had a total of 284 yards. So again, it wasn't an offensive juggernaut, but Wells recovered well from the first game. Wells is the quarterback that they're putting their
used to play at Marshall. Played a couple years at Marshall. Now he's their number 6. He's their quarterback. He has thrown 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. All 4 of them were against Old Dominion. Had over 300 yards passing against Wofford this last week.
And last week he played against Wofford. They won 27-7. They showed a pretty fair defense. I thought Wofford showed a pretty fair defense. Wofford's 0 for 3. And like you said, they haven't scored a point until the fourth quarter of the third game. And they were up against such powerhouses as Chattanooga and Elon and shut them out. So Wofford is not much to brag about, but still, Tech looked pretty good.
They took care of business just like we did against Towson. So
maybe
not
some
quite
ways,
as well.
Some statistically better because Wells threw for 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. He got the ball downfield. I watched that game.
Their starters played a whole lot more than ours did against Towson, but I'm sorry.
And I thought Wofford looked pretty fair on defense. They covered pretty close to the receivers. They got fooled occasionally. they were rushing the passer pretty good, and that's the other thing.
Yeah,
This kid Wells has trouble if you put pressure on him, but they rushed the passer pretty good.
They stopped Tech on a 4th and 1 early in the game, also, so they went for it and couldn't stop, and Wofford stopped them. So I don't think Virginia Tech's offense is real good.
Tell us a little more about the team. You got the background.
Wells is their quarterback, number 6. He's a transfer from Marshall. Jury's still out on him. We'll see what's go. They've got a runner, number 23, is Keyshawn King, and we don't know. He got hurt early on this year. He still carried the ball 23 times. He's their leading rusher for 175 yards, but we don't know if he's going to play. In fact, they asked West Virginia coach today, Neil Brown, and he says he didn't know. But he's a pretty dynamic runner. But they've got other runners. They've had 4 guys that carry the ball more than 20 times, and one's the quarterback Wells. They got Jalen Holston, who's number 0, 41 carries. He carried it a lot against Wofford. Chance Black, number 28, 30 carries. He carried it a lot against Wofford too. So they do want to establish a running game. They want to be physically dominant on the line of scrimmage. I think it might be a function because they don't throw the ball so well. But I say that, but he's thrown 300 yards against Wofford. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to be able to physically dominate our defense. It's kind of a pretty good matchup in a way because their weakness is probably throwing the football, and one of our main weaknesses is our secondary. Receiving, throwing the football. Their main guy has caught the ball more than anybody is Nick Gallo, the tight end, number 86, 13 catches this year. But, again, I go back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys have more than 5 receptions in 3 games. So they're
spreading the ball around
a little bit.
And that makes it dangerous, and that's going to be pressure. All of our secondary is going to have to play well, because if one of them's playing poorly, they're going to find you, and they're going to throw to your area.
One thing I noticed in watching it seems that Wells does kind of stare the receiver down where he wants to go with the football, so I'm hoping that might lead to a few turnovers, interceptions. The main thing is we got to get pressure on him. Caleb Smith, number 80, Stephen Gosnell, number 12, and Dwayne Lofton, number 3. There are 3 other wideouts that he'll throw. You'll see in the game a lot. On the offensive line, they've got 5 guys. They have a senior at left tackle and a grad transfer at center, but the other 3 are sophomores. They are young. They're young on the line, and as a first-year head coach would probably do, come in there and play young people.
New coach is trying to build a program, and they're giving him time to build it.
I agree. So we'll see. They're rebuilding. He's changing a philosophy. It's completely different than the kind of offense that they tried to do with Justin Fuente. One thing's for sure is they got some athletes on the defensive side.
Tell us about the defense.
Well, they got the guy doesn't even start is number 56, C.J. McCray, but he got an elite mark by Pro Football Focus as far as grading out against Wofford.
Nerds.
He came from Marshall again. He's got 2 sacks. He's a redshirt freshman. He's a ball player. Now he doesn't start. They've got a kid named Garbutt, Taiwan Garbutt, and Jalen Griffin are the 2 defensive ends. But if you were talking about their defense, you got to talk about their middle linebacker. Number 4, Dax Hollyfield. He's their best tackler. He's in the middle of everything. In fact, he played against us last year. He's in the middle of everything. He's just what you want in a middle linebacker.
Got to keep the defensive ends off our quarterback, and
Exactly.
We've got to be able to block their middle linebacker.
And you got to get out to that second level to block that guy. That means you got to get past their defensive tackles. They got another guy. Their Chamari Connor, number 1, is a safety, and he's their number 2 tackler as far as tackles goes. And he will come up and hit you. They play good defense. Now I don't know about the competition that they've played, but they play defense. They've had a reputation of playing good defense.
I don't know how good or bad Boston College is, but anytime you hold somebody to 4 yards rushing, you've got a defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Their front defensive line is going to be formidable. It's going to be a challenge for our offensive line.
Have they seen the kind of attack that they're going to see now? Maybe running the ball. We might have some issues running the ball, but we'll see. I think the where we can maybe exploit them is throwing the football, and that's where JT Daniels comes in. Special teams, they're really solid. King was a returner on the kickoff returns, but I don't know. Again, we don't know if he's healthy enough to play. But their field goal kicker hasn't missed. He's kicked long field goals. Their punter is maybe as good as any punter we play against. Is good at dropping it inside the 10. So they play pretty solidly on special teams too. They're not going to just hand us this game. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be excited. It's Thursday night. They're going to enter Sandman and all that business that they do, and they're going to be excited to play. It's a rivalry game, and they're on ESPN. Remember, they beat North Carolina last year on a Thursday night.
They're upbeat and they're excited, and this is a key game to them. If they beat us, then they're looking for
huge.
a good season.
But it's a big one for us too, because this gets us back to even, and then we go into our conference from here on out.
I think we match up well.
I agree.
think Virginia Tech's offensive line is one of their weaknesses, and I think our defensive front seven is one of our strengths.
Has to be.
And if we can put pressure on Wells, I think that shakes him up and makes him a less effective quarterback.
We got to stop their running game.
And I don't think they'll have a running game. I don't think they have much of a running game against weak people. We've got to stop it as well. But now all that assumes that we play with the same ferocity that we did against Pitt and some of the others. I also think their defense is questionable. I have some respect from what I've seen. I have some respect for their front line. I believe they can be beaten deep, and that's where our strength is. That's where JT Daniels and multiple receivers now are coming to shine, but they've got to do it again. We've got to have a good game out of Prather. We need Sam James to come back and help us out, and we have to have Bryce Ford Wheaton catch the ball like he always does. I think their special teams are very good.
They are.
I'm not sold on ours yet. I'm afraid if it turns into a slow game with field control and low scoring, their special teams may give them the edge with field goals and the like. We could lose it that way. For them to win, though, I think they need to put the ball downfield, pick apart our secondary, pray for pass interference, and then otherwise slow the game down so that we don't get a lot of scoring. They've got to figure out a way to solve our offense, which scores quite a bit against good people.
Yeah, we've scored a lot of points this year against some good teams.
So they need to injure Daniels. They need to have us turn the ball over like we will do. We need to have a lot of penalties. If those things happened, I think they may be in the game.
Well, again, they're going to be excited early on. So the thing to do is try to take their heart away early on by hitting some passes down the field, because it's going to be hard to beat them on the line of scrimmage when everybody's all geeked up at the beginning.
I also mentioned, though, by the way, that some of their boards are already lamenting that they really wish they had Nestor, because their offensive line's got some holes in it, and some of the transfers out, including Nestor, would have plugged those holes. And I look for Nestor to have a good game.
Doug Nestor did transfer from Virginia Tech to West Virginia, played really well against Virginia Tech last year. However, he's going against a team that's got completely different coaches than who recruited him and took him down there. So there's not that personal thing anymore. I'm sure he has friends on the team, and I'm sure it's probably the first time he's been back there to play since he transferred out. So we'll see how that goes. He graded out really well against
Nestor
Towson.
had a good game
Towson
this
and
past
Fraser
week,
did, so.
and he's a good ball player, and it's gonna mean something to him to go back and play Virginia Tech.
I agree. If I overall assess this, I think their offense is pretty weak. I think their defense is not bad, but again, I'm grading it against the competition that they've played. I don't think their competition is anything close. Those three teams they've played, as compared to what we've played two really good teams and one pushover. So we'll see. I guess it's kind of the jury's still out kind of thing to me. I don't think they've played it, but then again, you just don't know. Rivalry game Thursday night, people can put their best effort forward. So.
I believe in this Mountaineer team.
I do too.
I think it's a much better team than people know. I think, assuming they play like they played the first three games, and I don't think they played poorly, I think West Virginia wins big. I think we get interceptions off of this guy Wells. I think we score pretty much every time we've got the ball. I think it's over by halftime. And I've got my fingers crossed that we're going to see Garrett Green and Nico and Crowder in the second half of this ball game.
Well, remember last year in Morgantown, we got ahead of them 27-7 at the half, and then we screwed around, let them back in the game, turning it over, and then we had to have a goal line stand to win it. So I don't want a repeat of that.
We've got the backups now.
Well, I think you're right.
We've built the program. There is competition for every slot on that team now, and we don't have the drop off that we've had in the past. If you recall, in the past, if we got a quarterback, I don't know, break a finger in the Texas game, you were done.
Yes.
The season was over.
You had to retool your offense.
You were done. You were done. There was nothing there. And here in the very first series of the very first game, we lost arguably our best player on defense,
yes.
And we're not done. We're still fighting our way through. And when he
we're not as good, but and let's
we're
say
not
a prayer
done.
for Charles Woods,
yes,
if you would.
I
agree with you. I think we win this game going away. I really do. I think
the
it's
over.
I think
take
it's close
the Mountaineers.
to half, and then we pull away.
2-point spot is an
2.5,
insult. The Mountaineers will win by at least 3 scores. Mark it down.
I'm gonna say
3
10.
scores.
I'm gonna say 10 points. And now, watch us next week. He might even be wearing a dunce cap, or he'll be crowing like who knows.
I'll be crowing.
I hope he is, because I'll be really happy if that happens.
But because that'll set us up for Texas. Between now and then, like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Write into us and tell us what your thoughts are. Feel free to call me names. I don't like
Put a comment in there. Share us. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
We'll see you next time.